Welcome to day 42 of our school year. Okay, let's get that 42nd day in there. Okay, so let's get our beginning fraction down. We have a total of 180 school days. We're on day 42. Now we have to look at that numerator and decide if it's prime or composite. It's an even number, and the only even number that's prime is the number 2, so every other even number is composite. You can check on the back on your prime number sieve. But the definition for prime is that it has exactly 2 factors. Well, if it's an even number, it automatically has a third factor because you can divide by 2. So that means it has more than 2 factors. And we need to do our prime factorization for both 180 and 42. Okay, if you forget, we start with our first 5 prime for dividing: 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. Those are the ones we want to start with. Sometimes a good strategy is to start with the lowest prime number, which is 2, because it's pretty natural to cut things in half. Half of 180 is 90. That's even again, so I can cut it in half again. I can divide by 2. Half of 9 I can't do, but I could do half of 8 tens, which is 4 tens. That leaves a 10. Half of a 10 is 5. That is not even, so 2 won't work again. Let's see if 3 will work. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 is a multiple of 3, so 3 is a factor. I could get one group of 3 out of 4. That leaves 15. 5 groups of 3 out of 15. I could divide by 3 again. I get 5. 5 is prime. We are done. Here, since it's even, I can divide by 2. Half of 40 is 20. Half of 2 is 1. This is not even, so 2 won't work again, but 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is a multiple of 3, so 3 is a factor of this. 3 times 7. 7 is prime, so we are done. Let's go ahead and list our prime factorization from least to greatest. 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. And then our numerator, 2 times 3 times 7. So let's see what we have in common. We have 2 times 3 in both the numerator and the denominator. That leaves a 7 in the numerator. And then 2 times 3 is 6, times 5 is 30. So 7 30ths. Our greatest common factor is 6. So let's go ahead and make our groups of 6. And if you wonder where I got that from, 2 times 3 is 6. Remember, it does not matter what your groups of 6 look like, just as long as you have 6 in each and you keep your shaded separated from your unshaded. If you put them together, you have made a fraction inside a fraction, and that just adds more steps that we'd need to do to check. Alright, so I've got all my shaded done, so now I'm going to do the unshaded. Your groups do not have to look like mine. Just make sure they have 6. There we go. There's all our groups of 6. So let's count them up. See how many total groups we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we have 30 total groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 7 are shaded in. Now let's go ahead and use our area model, the algorithm to prove the division we just did in the model. Because remember, dividing is just putting it into equal groups. Another way of looking at it is repeated subtraction, because every time we made a group, we could subtract it out. We have our area models here. Let's see, if I take out 20, because I'm pretty good at multiplying by 20, placeholder moves it over a place. 2 times 6 is 12. Numbers the same, zeros a game, more on top, no need to stop. Bring that 60 up here. And I know that 10 times 6 is 60, because when you multiply by 10, it just moves it over a place. Numbers the same, zeros a game. Add these partial quotients together. 20 plus 10 is 30. Okay, down here, 5 times 6 is 30. More on top, no need to stop. More on top, no need to stop. Move the 12 up here, and 2 times 6 is 12. Numbers the same, zeros a game. Add those together, I get 7. But we still always want to check our division with our inverse operation. So we do our divisor times our quotient, because multiplication is the inverse of division. And then we add our remainder. And addition's the inverse of subtraction. So divisor times quotient plus remainder, divisor times quotient plus remainder. Since our remainder for both is 0, and the identity property of addition says when you add 0, it stays the same, we don't need to actually add the 0. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 7 is 42. 42 checks with our dividend. 180 checks with our dividend. So that means 7 is definitely our numerator, and 30 is definitely our denominator. All right, let's go ahead and fill in our data collection page. All right, we are still in trimester 1. We are now on week 10. Today's date is 10/7/19, and our fraction for today is 7/30. Go ahead and get out your number line. So we did groups of 6. We have quite a few to fill in here. So we have 2/30. 1/15 was the equivalent fraction in lowest terms, but we also have an equivalent fraction in 3/45, 4/60, and 6/90. Those are all equivalent fractions. Okay, 3/30, well, that is equivalent to 2/20, and 1/10 was the simplest form. Also 6/60, 9/90, and of course our beginning fractions. 4/30, that is equivalent to 2/15. That was our lowest, our equivalent fraction in lowest terms, or simplest form. But it's also equivalent to 6/45, 8/60, and 12/90. and of course the beginning fractions. Then 5/30 is equivalent to 1/6. That was the simplest form for that one. It's also equivalent to 6/36, 10/60, 15/90, and of course the beginning fraction, 30/180. Then 6/30 is equivalent to 1/5, equivalent fraction in lowest terms. If you notice, each time the only difference between these is the amount of pieces it's cut into. They line up same amount from 0 to this line, and 0 to this line is the same amount. That's why they're equivalent. It's just these are cut into smaller pieces. And then here, equivalent fraction of 12/60, still same amount from 0 to here, but smaller pieces again. 18/90, same total amount, but cut into smaller pieces. And then the 36/180, cut into much smaller pieces. Then of course, then here today, we have our 7/30. We do have an equivalent fraction in our 3s and our 2s. Those are both common factors, but 6 was our greatest common factor, so this is our equivalent fraction in lowest terms, or simplest form. Okay, go ahead and put your number line away, erase your worksheet, and thank you for joining me.